you will represent it as t minus t1 wherever you are shifting. If you are shifting at t1 or you are wherever you are shifting, that that you are taking as negative. On if you are shifting on the left hand side, you should represent it as a positive term there in the argument. Okay. Now, what? So that is all about impulse. Impulse is sudden occurrence. Now, very interesting property of impulse we have here. What is that? If function is multiplied with impulse, I am going to get, and if it is integrated over infinite, I am going to get function at where impulse exists. I repeat, there is a function, so I am assuming this is my line t. Okay, this is my some line t. Okay, so I think you don't have a doubt mind, right? Any doubt in case, please feel free to ask. Okay, so now there is any function. I'm assuming this is my function f of t. Any random function I have, it can take any value f of t, right? And it is having span. Suppose it is having span from minus infinite to infinite or whatever, right? Now there is a function. There is impulse which exists. What is delta t? Delta t is a impulse sudden occurrence of intensity. Sudden occurrence of intensity at location. Argument is equal to 0. So argument is t. So this is sudden occurrence of intensity. A sudden occurrence of impulse or value at t is equal to 0. So I will say it is at t is equal to 0. At this t is equal to 0, there is some occurrence of some intensity. Now, if I multiply this two, can you tell me what will be what will be the multiplication here? What will be the multiplication of this? So what is impulse? So what it says, if I multiply these two functions and if I integrate over minus infinite to plus infinite, what I will get is what I will get is function at 0. That is what I am going to get. We need to prove it. We need to prove. So now let us multiply. So first what I did, I had the function f of t, I had the impulse delta t. Now I have to multiply. So do multiplication. What is multiplication? What is the value of impulse at this point? 0. What is the value of my function? It will be some random value. Some value is there. But it is multiplied with 0. What will be my result? 0. Same way, if I take this value somewhere here, it is 0. My impulse is 0. At this point only, my impulse is non-zero. So impulse is 0 for the rest of the time. So what will happen? Where whatever the value of f of t is, it is I am going to get what I am going to get is 0. Just the concern is at this point only. Why? Because at this point only impulse exists. For all other values, impulse is 0. So multiplication is anyway is going to result into 0, irrespective of value of f of t. Right? So I'm interested in this point only. So okay, what is the point? What is the function value at this point? Because it is 0 times 0, so I should say, okay, it is function value f of 0. Because my time at the time is 0. What I am having as impulse? Impulse is delta t, it is infinite. So I am writing it as delta t itself. Because delta t is having value at this point only, otherwise it is 0 anyway. So this is itself delta t, which is infinite value. Right? I can represent it as a delta t because delta t itself is defined as infinite at this point, otherwise it is anyway 0. So it is delta t itself. I can write it like that. Okay. And this is the multiplication, that is f of 0 is multiplied with my impulse at this point. That is what the logic is. Otherwise, my function is multiplied with 0 value. So no, it will not make sense. But here, whatever the value of impulse and my function with 0 is multiplied here. Okay, and what I'm so multiplication is that, so this is the final result of the multiplication. And then what I have to do after multiplication, I have to integrate it. So I'm integrating over it from minus infinite to plus infinite. I'm integrating over plus infinite, minus infinite to plus infinite, and I'm integrating over it or dt. Okay, so now can you tell me what is f of 0? F of 0 is a constant value. It will not vary with respect to t because it is the value of function at t is equal to 0, which will be constant. Whatever the value is, but it will be constant, right? So it is not going to vary with respect to time, and hence it is a constant for this integral. It will come out. It will come out. Now, can you simplify this further and tell me what will happen? What is this minus infinite to plus infinite delta t dt? What exactly my equation is now? It is f of 0. It is f of 0 minus infinite to plus infinite delta t dt. Can you tell me what this will result into? Yes, this remaining part is 1. Why it is 1? Why this is 1? Why this is 1? That is true, it is 1. Why this portion is 1? What is that? From in, yes, it is area. Yes, it is area under the impulse. That is just we just concluded minus infinite to infinite delta t dt is 1. Minus infinite to infinite delta t dt is 1. That is area under the impulse. This minus infinite to plus infinite the delta t dt is nothing but area of my impulse. Area of my impulse is nothing but 1, and hence this results into f of 0. Okay, so this is shifting property. What shifting property says? This is proof of shifting property, right? It is not given in your book, but I guess it is useful. So if you want to note down somewhere, you can note down. It is not given in your textbook. So otherwise, it is quite logical, quite understandable. So what shifting property says? In other words, in words, if I want to say, if any function is multiplied with my impulse, integrated from minus infinite to plus infinite over time, or over the variable, whatever the variable you have. Here my variable is time, that's why I'm integrating over time. So that will mislead, so I'm repeating the statement. If my function is multiplied with impulse and integrated from minus infinite to plus infinite, will result into function at the point where impulse exists. Here my impulse exists at t is equal to 0. That's why my function at t is equal to f of 0. Suppose my impulse existed at t is equal to t1 then. So what will happen? The multiplication will result into what? Not f of 0 but f of t1, because otherwise the multiplication would have been 0, but at t1 the whatever the value of my function and the impulse value would have been there. So f of t1 is also constant value, so it will also come out, and the result will be f of t1, and this is always 1. So wherever, so that definitely, wherever my multiplication is going to be non-zero at that location only my function value I should get as my result. So that is what here is. Here my impulse is shifted right side by t0 value, and hence I am going to get my function value at t0. Any doubt regarding to the shifting property? Yes, if more than one impulse, you said by logic, you say, Priyal, that good question you have, and just tell me what will happen. What is she asking? That if I have multiple impulses, what will happen? You tell me. If it is T1, the same logic you have to apply. No need to worry about. Just use the same logic. T1, T2, T3. What will happen? What will happen? So here I will represent, yes, summation of all. It will be like f of T1 plus f of T2 plus f of T3. Not f of, but why f of 0? See, what will happen here? What I will have is f of t is multiplied with what actually? Actually I am having f of t is multiplied with delta at t1 plus delta at t2. I hope you are getting it. It is at delta at t2. Yes. Yes, f of t, yes, so clear, na? So if it is multiple impulses are there, then you will have the summation at the multiple f of t1 plus f of t2 plus f of t3. Because see, ultimately summation, you can have integration, you can separate out integration in the summation. And you can see this case as summation of f of t into delta t1 plus delta t2 plus delta t3. So you can have the same logic, you can apply to all, right? Okay. So, fine. So, I guess it is clear to you all. Any doubt in place? Nah, it will be useful. Real, it will be highly useful. We will see how. Your this case is going to be highly useful. See, I see interesting thing you got. Okay, what will be the result? Tell me. What will be the result if I have three impulses here? If I have, this is my continuous function, right? It is my f of t. F of t is my continuous function, right? It is my continuous function. It has all the values. It has value at just instance before t1, just instance after t1. All the instances are available. At t2 also I have the values. Again, I have all the values here. Now, if I am multiplying with 3 impulses only, what exactly my output will be? Suppose I am multiplying with 3 outputs. If I am getting, yes, so can I say if I am so what I am getting is f of t1 plus f of t2 plus f of t3. So actually I am sampling my signal. I sampled my f at t1, I sampled my f at t2, I sampled my f at t3. Can you see 3 samples I got from entire one? Right? So you know that if I have my image, sampling is compulsory for me. If you remember the continuous domain we have to do sample, then we will quantize, right? That we have studied. So samples, what is sample? That at particular time or at particular location, I want to get my value of my function, intensity of my image, I want to get. If that is the scenario, then I am going to use multiple impulses there. Understood. So definitely we'll take it in more detail, but will be highly useful to you. It will be highly useful, right? So okay, and one more point is whatever we had, now what actually you multiplied it as like this. You multiplied this impulse. Actually, instead of having this impulse at T1, you had impulse at T1, T2, T3. Can I say you had 3 impulse? You had actually train of impulse. You use train of impulse to multiply with a function. So this is if you have multiple impulses separated at some distance, then it is going to be called as, we will call it as impulse train. Multiple impulses in a row. Okay, so these concepts we are going to use, it will be highly useful to us somewhere. But what I don't want to deal with impulse in the continuous time domain, because I know ultimately my goal is what, to sample image, to work with the image, and image is a discrete quantity. So I will need the discrete impulse. I'm going to use with the discrete. I should not take that infinite values. I want real time values, right? So definition I'm going to alter for my case is that delta of t x, whatever you call, delta of t or x, or delta of x is equal to 1 if x is equal to 0. It is 0 if x not 0. What I want to represent here is impulse is sudden occurrence of intensity at some location, sudden occurrence of some value, right? Where I am considering is if it is 0, sudden occurrence of 1, it says it is my impulse. This is implementable. If I want to actually implement, I have to go with this. I cannot represent infinite value. Okay, and so what am assuming here is I cannot have impulse. I can have impulse at t is equal to 0 or x is equal to 0 and its value is 1. Then I cannot have value impulse at 0.01, 0.02. I will have impulse at x is equal to 1 only and its value will be 1. So this is my discrete impulse. That I will not, that impulse are not possible at any other value. They are possible at the discrete locations. Till time what we were assuming, t can be t1, can be t0, can be any value. Now it is having discrete set. Whatever the discrete set you want to keep, but it will be a discrete set. Okay, so so that is what it will be. So now suppose, okay, so now so actually you will see it as a samples. You will see it as a sample, like here you can see it as a sample. Like here the value is 0, then after some time at this location value is 0, at this location 0 0 0. It cannot be possible all the values. Here it is 1, again 0 0 0 all the time, right? In for the continuous domain, what it was, in minus infinite to infinite, integration was 1, but here it is discrete quantity, so you cannot use integration, you are going to use summation. From minus infinite to plus infinite, summation is going to be 1. And if you want to logically verify it is possible, what is the impulse value here? It is 0. What is the impulse value here? 0. So 0 plus 0, 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 1 plus 0 0 0 0 0, all 0. So what will be final summation from plus infinite to minus infinite? It will be 1. That's why this value is taken 1. That's why this value is taken as 1. Otherwise, you could have taken that 100, 200, 500, right? But we want to resemble it with the actual facts, and we want to resemble it with the continuous domain representation. Okay, so that's why this value was taken 1. If we will sum it up from minus infinite to infinite, the result is going to be 1, which is similar to area under the curve is 1 for the discrete domain. Same way, if I represent it as x minus x0, what is the meaning of that? The impulse exists at x0. What is the amplitude value? Amplitude value is 1. It exists at 0, 0, 0, and sudden 1, again 0, 0, 0 all the time. Okay, so this is discrete unit impulse. That's why it is known as unit impulse. Why it is known as unit impulse? Because it has amplitude 1. Okay, so this impulse, this is modified version of the impulse, and this is what we are going to use. Right? Now, what we are going to take here is a shifting property of the discrete impulse. So what was the function? Function multiplied with impulse integrated from minus infinite to plus infinite. Here it is discrete, that's why we can say sum up results into function where impulse exists. The same thing, a function multiplied with impulse, shifted impulse, integrated from minus infinite to plus infinite results into function where impulse exists. Right? So this is shifting property. I guess no one should have doubt here. Any doubt? In case I will be happy to solve. Any doubt? Okay. So okay. So now I just told you that we will need impulse train as well. What is impulse train? So think. What is this? What is this? This is impulse train. So let us learn how exactly this represents impulse train. Take n value 0. I am starting my n can take value in plus infinite to minus infinite. I am taking n value 0. Which impulse it will be? At n is equal to 0, what is the meaning of that impulse exists at which location? If I say n is equal to 0, my n can take value 0 minus infinite to plus infinite. If I say n is 0, from minus infinite to plus infinite, it's taking value 0. Can you tell me where this impulse exists? N 0, what will be this equation? Just don't look at this. Just look at this. Don't look at. Just look at this. Just look at this. Just forget about the summation part. Look at this and tell me if n is equal to 0, where this impulse exists. Yes, it will exist at t is equal to 0. Yes, it will exist at t is equal to 0. Why? Because it will be just delta t. Na? If delta t, that means impulse exists at whatever the argument is equal to 0. So argument itself is t, because this part will be 0 because of n 0. That's why it will be just delta t. Right? That will be just delta t. And hence it will be impulse which exists at 0. Right? Now suppose take the value of n1. I am assuming my value of n is 1. Where this impulse exists? I am taking one more impulse with n, where if n value is 1, there will be one more impulse. Where it will exist? If n value is 1, where this impulse exists? Yes, it will exist at delta t. It will exist at delta t. It will exist at delta t. So it will not exist at 0, but it will exist at delta t. It will exist at delta t. Same way n is equal to 2, where it will exist? Fast. If n is equal to 2, where it will exist? N is equal to 2, where it will exist? Where this impulse will exist? Yes, it will exist at 2 delta t. Okay. Now, suppose I am going for the negative values. Here, I hope you will understand this is 2 delta t. Right? This is 2 delta t. If I am going for the negative values of, if I am going negative for the negative values of delta t, it will exist at minus delta t for n minus 1. If n is minus 1, this will be positive term. Positive term means shifted on the left hand side, so it will exist at minus delta t. And if it is n is equal to minus 2, then it will exist at minus 2 delta t and so on. So these are different impulses I have. Then what if I sum them up? If I sum these two signals, then what will happen? So here both the functions are 0, 0, 0, 0. Here this function exists, but this is 0. Here this function exists, but this function is 0. So what will be my summation? If I just sum these two, it is going to look like this. Because so this is the summation of these two signals, earlier one and this one. Now if I sum this and this, if I sum all of them, what is going to be? Here at 2 delta t, nothing exists here. So here whatever the value of 2 delta t will be as it is, this value, minus delta t impulse will come here, minus 2 delta t impulse will come here. This is how it is going to be summation, or we can say here whatever we had here. Now you can see a summation of 3 different impulses. One impulse exists at t1, another impulse exists at t2, another exists at t3. If I sum them up, the signal is going to look like this, right? And that is what we want to say here. This is what this is what. So if I do summation of all the impulses from my n value minus infinite to plus infinite, it is going to look like this. It is going to look like this. Any doubt regarding to this is the equation of impulse train? Why it represents impulse? So actually, can you tell me if I write like this, it represents summation of the impulses separated by delta t. Here first was 0, then at delta t, then 2 delta t minus delta t. The separation between two was delta t. Why it was delta t? Because here you are jumping by delta t and your n is an integer value. It can take -1, -2, +1, +2, any value. Okay, so that is what impulse train is. What is the notation? Notation is S of delta t. I will represent it as S delta t. That is impulse train. What is the significance of delta t? Can anyone tell me here? What is delta t? What delta t tells us? Delta t says that this is the separation between two impulses. Here the gap between two impulses, delta t. If I say the separation is x, I should write S of x here. Like this. Here this indicates the separation between two impulses. Okay. So this is impulse train, very much useful to us. Now next equation is a Fourier transform. So these are the equations we will need. Right now, as I told you, we need some mathematical fundamentals. We will implement, we will combine together for image processing. Okay, and we will see how they are useful. So first we need to gather all the fundamentals that we have already studied. Right? We have to recall them. So one more fundamental that you have already gone through is Fourier transform. Fourier transform of any continuous function which is aperiodic can be given by this. What is that? F of t e raised to minus j 2 pi mu t or 2 pi f t or omega t. 2 pi f is nothing but 2 pi, mu is frequency domain representation, or we can say mu is nothing but f. Frequency, that is how we are used to, but we will use now mu for frequency. So actually it is f of t e raised to minus j omega t. F of t e raised to minus j omega t. That is how you study. Okay, but omega is nothing but 2 pi f. Here I am writing it as 2 pi mu. Okay, so frequency domain, I will get it frequency domain. Here is my frequency domain variable. Instead of f, I am using mu. If I integrate my given function, because it is a continuous function, I can integrate it. So I am going to integrate f of t multiplied with e raised to minus j 2 pi mu t dt. And we know that inverse is possible. Inverse is possible. How to get inverse transform? So in that, what I will have my Fourier transform. I will have my frequency domain variable. I will have my frequency domain representation. This is my frequency domain representation. I will multiply that frequency domain representation with e raised to plus j omega t. Omega is 2 pi mu. So I will multiply my frequency domain representation with e raised to j 2 pi mu t, and I will integrate in the frequency domain. You can see here the variable is definitely frequency because I had the variable my function in the frequency domain. So I will integrate with frequency domain, and I will get my time domain representation back without any loss. Okay, so I'm repeating my function multiplied with e raised to minus j 2 pi mu t, and variable is time domain definitely because my function is in time domain. I will get my frequency domain representation. Frequency domain is taken e raised to j 2 pi mu t d mu, that is the frequency domain integral, and I will get time domain representation. So not like this, we will go with this. Find Fourier transform of unit impulse located at the origin. Let us do here. Let us do that here. What I want? Fourier transform of, I want Fourier transform of impulse, unit impulse located at origin. That is my t. Okay, I want to have impulse. Unit impulse is actually also known because it is having area under the curve. Area under the impulse is 1, and hence it is known as unit impulse. right? So what we can say here is, what we can do here is, this is my impulse which exists at origin. Now what should I have here is, okay, so what I want to find out Fourier transform of that. So what is my equation? Equation says that this is my equation, right? And what is my function whose Fourier transform I want to find out? My function is delta t. So I should write it here delta t. I should write here delta t. I should write here delta t. Okay, instead of f of t, I should write here delta t. And can you simplify and tell me what will be the result? Look at this. What exactly I am having? So if I am substituting that equation here, that is what this is what the equation I am having. Delta t e raised to minus j 2 pi mu t dt. Right? It is e raised to minus j 2 pi mu t dt. Now, so what will be the result of this integral? So I know that shifting property of my shifting property of my impulse. What is that? If any function, you can see this is a function. If f of t is multiplied with delta t, integrated from minus infinite to plus infinite, results into what? Any function multiplied with impulse, integrated from minus infinite to plus infinite, results into any function multiplied with impulse, integrated from minus infinite to plus infinite, results into function at 0. What is my function here? What is my function here? My function is e raised to minus j 2 pi mu t. It results into at function is equal to 0. So what will be the value here? My variable is t. So what I want is, I want to see it as f of 0. I want to result will be f of 0 only, because my impulse exists at 0, right? So this function at 0. So what will be my function at 0? It will be e raised to j 2 pi mu t value will be 0, because f of 0, what is the meaning of that? This is f of t, so f of 0 will be e raised to minus j 2 pi mu 0, and hence it is e raised to 0 and is equal to 1. Okay, so what we concluded, this is the symbol of Fourier transform that already you know, right? This thing you should note down somewhere whenever we will need this multiple times now onwards. What I want is, you just have one page in your notebook and you just note them down wherever we will need. So we should quickly recall them. Again and again we cannot solve this. Few things you need to note down. One is shifting property, which will be multiple time used. What is that? Function multiplied with impulse, integrated from minus infinite to plus infinite over a variable. Then result will be function at the point where impulse exists. Impulse exists at t is equal to 0, and hence function at 0 is my result. That is one thing that you should note down. Second thing is this. Various Fourier transform pair we will have. Delta t has Fourier transform 1. And inverse is also true. 1 has inverse Fourier transform delta t, because you know that it is possible without any loss to come back. So if I am finding from delta t, if this Fourier transform is 1, if 1 is given as me to Fourier transform representation, I will know its time domain representation is going to be delta t. What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? Delta t, this is how it looks like in time domain. This is how it looks like in time domain. And this is how it looks like in frequency domain. This is how it is constant 1. This is how it looks like in frequency domain. So these two are same actually. And what is the significance of this? How many sinusoidals are used to make this impulse? How many sinusoidals are used to make this impulse? So we'll say, okay, a sinusoidal with this frequency, a sinusoidal with this frequency, a sinusoidal with this frequency. If all the sinusoidals with different frequencies and equal amplitude, that is 1, are combined and added together, then impulse is created. That is what the significance is. I repeat the significance. What it says, time domain representation is this, that is having infinite amplitude or having very high amplitude at t is equal to 0, otherwise 0. To make this signal possible in time domain, we need some sinusoidals. It is possible to represent this in terms of sinusoidals. Which sinusoidals are there? They are the sinusoidals with all the frequencies with equal amplitude. We need sinusoidals of all the frequencies and equal amplitude and sum them up to get this function in time domain. That is what the significance of the result is. Okay, and if I'm having all the frequencies present in my, if all the frequencies are present in my frequency domain, and if I want to think that how it would have been looking like in the time domain, then I should think, I should assure that, I should be sure about that it would look like one impulse, because it is possible to come back from the Fourier domain to time domain without any loss. Okay, so that is this is what the significance of the mathematical thing is, right? Now tell me, what about Fourier transform of the impulse at? Just tell me, what about Fourier transform of the impulse at delta t minus t0? Can you tell me what will be the Fourier transform of delta t minus t0? Quickly tell me what is Fourier transform of delta t minus t0? That means impulse located at t0. What are the steps? At f of t, just substitute this value and quickly tell me. Substitute that value here, apply shifting property and get your answer. Yes, it will be. Yes, it will be. It will be like function at the point where impulse exists. The function at the point the impulse exists, and the answer will be e raised to minus j. Okay, it will be minus j because definition itself is says it is j. So this is function exists at t0. This is function f of t, right? This is function f of t. What my result will be? Because what was my confusion, that you should not think like this t is equal to substituted minus t0. That's why otherwise this would have been plus, right? But that is not the case. What if this is f of t? I want f of t0. Wherever t is, it should be replaced with t0. Wherever the function where impulse exists, this impulse exists at plus t0, right? So this result would have been yes, the result will be e raised to minus j 2 pi mu tz. Yes, true, clear. And my also is clear, right? Anyone having doubt here? So result will be, the result is this. The result is this. Okay. Now, so result is that it just you have calculated, and this is another representation of the same, that you know exponential can be represented there in sine and cosine. If you want to represent that we will need, then we will come back to this point. Otherwise, you can understand this very well. Okay, so this is what the Fourier transform of impulse located at t0. Now solve about this question quickly. Inverse Fourier transform of this. I want to find out inverse Fourier transform of delta mu minus mu 0. I want to find out inverse Fourier transform of delta mu minus mu 0. Which equation we should use first? I want inverse Fourier transform. Again, it is similar logic, nothing else. Just we have to conclude something from that. So we need this result. This is the equation that I am going to use. Instead of f of mu, now I have my function which is delta mu minus mu 0. My result is my delta, and it is mu minus mu 0. This is what my function is. Yes, wherever mu is, you should substitute with mu 0, because again the same logic it is going to have is what, like my function multiplied with here it will be delta, no? So we can see that here. Yes, my function, this is my function multiplied with impulse located at uh, uh, my impulse multiplied with exponential. Okay, and it is and this is my function, and it is multiplied with impulse. Then what is the result? The result is function where impulse exists. So where this impulse exists, the impulse exists at mu is equal to mu 0. So here I should not replace t, I should replace mu, because this was here the variable was mu. Earlier till time we had the variable t, that's why we were replacing t. Right here, what should I replace? This function where impulse exists, where this impulse exists at mu is equal to mu 0. And hence I should replace this mu with mu 0. So this is what my final result is. So we will substitute mu is equal to mu 0 there. right? Now tell me about what if. So this is very important result for us. This is very important result for us, right? Now tell me about if what is, so what is the meaning of this? Exponential has Fourier transform. Exponential has Fourier transform impulse, and if impulse is there in the frequency domain, its inverse Fourier transform is going to be exponential. Okay. Now tell me about what will be the Fourier inverse Fourier transform of delta. What will be the Fourier inverse Fourier transform of delta e raised to delta mu plus mu zero? Can you tell me what will be inverse Fourier transform of this? This is Fourier transform pair. So if I say this is the inverse Fourier transform of this, that means the Fourier transform of this is this. Okay. Now tell me what will be the case here? Can anyone tell me what will be the inverse Fourier transform of this? What will be the inverse Fourier transform of this? Yes, Mayank, it is true. It will be e raised to minus j. Yes, it will be minus j pi. It will be minus j 2 pi mu 0 t. Can I say like that? It is actually, it will be, yes, true, Gata. It is true. Right? Okay. Now tell me what about Fourier transform of cos? Cos 2 pi mu t, cos omega t. Instead of that, if I'm writing 2 pi mu t, if I'm writing as 2 pi mu t, that is fine. Cos omega t or cos 2 pi mu t. Find Fourier transform of this. So what is the methodology? Methodology is I want to find out Fourier transform of this function. Right? The meaning is I want, can I represent this Fourier transform as summation of exponentials? I want to actually, that is the meaning, that I want to find out Fourier transform of e raised to j theta. Theta is omega t. Omega t is 2 pi mu t and minus e raised to minus, sorry, this will be plus here, na? Minus plus e raised to plus j 2 pi mu t. Yes or no? All right, if I want to take specific frequency, if I don't want to go like that, then I can go with the specific frequency as well. Okay, so now if what and divide by 2. Okay, so what is the meaning of that? This Fourier is, the Fourier is nothing but integral. Fourier is nothing but the integral. It can be, so you can see it like some integral term and dt here, right? That can be separated out into summation as well. So what I am taking is as 1 by 2 is taken common here. Then integral of this, integral of this. So what you can think is as this is Fourier transform of e raised to positive exponential plus 1 by 2 Fourier transform of negative exponential. This is how you can see it as, right? And what about Fourier transform of this positive exponential? It is delta located. Positive exponential means this Fourier transform is going to be impulse located at positive right hand side, and negative exponential is having Fourier transform impulse located at the left hand side, and that is how we are going to get two impulses located at positive mu and negative mu, or positive right hand side and the left hand side, and this is what Fourier transform of a cosine is. I repeat, Fourier transform of cosine, if I want to find out, I can represent cosine in terms of exponentials, right? I will have e raised to j theta plus e raised to minus j theta by 2, right? And you know that Fourier is nothing but, how to represent Fourier, it is nothing but integral function and some exponential multiplied dt. This is how your function, you can have your Fourier transform. I am representing this cosine in terms of exponential. Here also, so integral, another representation of cosine, exponential into dt. Then you can have this exponential multiplied with, you can separate out this integral and exponential multiplied with each term here. So ultimately, if you will see it will look like the definition of 1 by 2 Fourier transform of positive exponential plus 1 by 2 Fourier transform of negative exponential. And just we concluded that positive Fourier transform of the positive exponential is nothing but the impulse shifted on the right hand side, and Fourier transform of the negative exponential is nothing but impulse shifted on the left hand side, and that means Fourier transform of a cosine is nothing but two impulses located at mu 0 and minus mu 0, at mu 0 and minus mu 0. And what is mu 0 here? Mu 0 is nothing but the frequency of my cosine. It is nothing but frequency 2 pi. So it is cos omega t. Omega is 2 pi f. Here in my case it is 2 pi mu 0. That means my frequency is mu 0. That means if there is a cosine of say frequency mu 0, then its frequency domain representation is going to be two impulses. One is located at mu 0, another is located at minus mu 0. Okay, so this is the fact that we will need in the next lecture. In case any doubt is there, you can ask me now. Any doubt? Should I repeat here anything? Are you clear with the Fourier transform representation of cosine? Any doubt? Okay, so fine. Right, we are concluding with this, right? We will use these results that we have concluded today in the next lecture.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me and see the screen? Okay. So let's begin with where we left last time. We are talking about inferencing in Bayesian network, and we said that the exact inferencing is a complex problem. It takes more than polynomial to perform the exact inference, because when we marginalize over n variables, there are total 2 raised to n possibilities for binary variables. So then we said that we have some other strategy which is called approximate inference, and we will talk about approximate inference today. So idea is to generate samples from Bayesian network. We have set up this idea earlier and we'll again discuss it. But it is to generate samples from the Bayesian network. As Bayesian network is a generative model, we can generate samples from that and use that sample to answer inference question. So that is the idea. And we will see that the generating sample is can be done in polynomial time. So in a way it becomes an easier problem. Though the inference would not be exact, but one can argue that with sufficiently large number of samples, the inference is near the correct answer. Yeah, so how do we generate the sample? So for that, we need to talk about random sampling. And the philosophy behind the random sampling is if we randomly select value for a random variable, the value with higher probability has higher chance of getting selected. And this thing has been tried and tested at many different places. If you remember earlier, we talked about the example of stick, where we divide the region of stick by the probability value. So if P of x value positive is equal to P of not value of x is equal to 1 by 2. If both probabilities are equal, then we can divide the region into equal parts. And we can say that this is region where x is equal to 1. And this is the region where x is equal to 0. Right? We did this earlier. And similarly, if the probabilities are not same, probability of x equal to 1 turns out to be 0.8, and probability of x equal to 0 turns out to be 0.2, then our division would be different. So more portion will be given to 0.8 part and less will be given to not x part. So this region will be x equal to 0 and this region will be x equal to 1. So now if we select a number at random and try to put it on this stick. Oh, Milan is saying the screen is not visible. Can you see the screen? How many of you are? Okay, Gata is saying Ritvik is visible. Okay. So Milan, is it okay at your end now? Or it might be a network issue at your end, I guess. So Milan, can you? Are you still not able to see the screen? Or yep, you need to pin my username, I guess. Bridge, Brijesh Bhatt. Search for Brijesh Bhatt and pin that. Could you pin that screen? Okay, tell me if you are still facing problem, or also tell me if you could pin the screen. I will move on till then. So now if we divide the region of stick like this as per probability, and if we draw some random numbers and try to put those number on stick, then obviously the area which higher probability will get higher will be able to catch more numbers. Okay, good. So now you can see, great. Right, so it means that if you divide the area by probability and just try to throw few numbers, then the area with higher probability will catch more numbers. It is like a fishing exercise. If your net is larger, then you would be able to catch more fishes. And same thing is applied in many exercises, like casino also, dartboard also. You might have seen boards like this also, where the different area is given to different tasks, something like this, a pie chart kind of thing. And more examples would fall in B class, right? Because the area was larger. So in a way, if you know the probability of random variables, then you can always divide regions by the probability, and then if you throw some numbers there, then the number with higher probability will get or the more number will get in the region with higher probability. So this simple idea is extended to this random sampling technique. So let us see how it works. So let's go back to our original example. I guess you have noted it from the previous lecture. The burglary, earthquake, alarm, John call, Mary call example. So if you have not noted this, note this down again. So probability of burglary is 0.001, probability of earthquake is 0.002. It means probability of not burglary is 0.999, probability of not earthquake is 0.998. Similarly, probability of alarm given burglary is true or an earthquake is true, burglary is true and earthquake is false, burglary is false and earthquake is true, and both are false. So again, there are 4 possibilities. And similarly, John calls and Mary calls, conditional probability of that also. So let us see how do we generate samples from this network. So step one is to randomly to generate some random numbers. So let us say X is the random variable, and we have generated 5 numbers, 5, 10. We assume some number anything between 0 to 10,000, because here the smallest probability is 0.001. That's why I'm saying 10,000. And the numbers I have chosen is, or numbers which are generated are 5, 10,000, 2,000, and 3,000. So let us see how we generate samples from this. So what do we mean by sample? One combination of these values. Uh, burglary, earthquake, alarm, John calls, and Mary calls. So we want to find out value of these 5 random variables given the random number X. So now X is equal to 5, and we want to find out value of burglary. So how would we do this? So let's draw a stick for burglary. And let's say length of stick is from 0 to 10,000. And let us divide the region of stick based on the probability of burglary. So what is probability of burglary to be true? 0.001. So where do I draw a line? At what point? At point 10. Right? So this region is burglary is equal to true, and everything else is burglary is equal to false. Right? Are you with me so far? So what I have done is I have drawn a line corresponding to random variable burglary, and I have divided the region as per the probability conditional probability table that we have for burglary. It says that 0.001% of the area should be for burglary is equal to true, and 0.999% of area should be for burglary is equal to false. So 10 divided by 10,000 turns out to be 0.001, isn't it? So I have break up like this, and now we'll pick this random number and project it on the stick. So the first random number that we are seeing is 5. So where does the 5 fall in this stick? In which area it will fall? It will fall here, between 0 to 10. Right? Please pay attention, because all the algorithms that we are going to discuss from here will use this idea. So is it clear what I have done? I have look at the CPT of burglary, and based on that, I have divided a stick into 2 regions. One region where burglary is true, and second region where burglary is false. Then I have looked at the random number and project the random number on the stick. And now the argument is, if it falls in true area, then the sample, the value of burglary in the sample is true. And if it falls in the false area, then the value of the sample is random variable is false. So here it falls in true area, so the value will be there is true for first sample. Now let's look at the second random variable. Second variable is E. Let's again draw the similar stick. Let's again divide it in range of 0 to 10,000. And let us again find out two parts of this stick. So where do I divide now? Now the division part is probability of E is 0.002. So the 0.002 over percent of the area would go for E is equal to true. So that is somewhere at 20 that I have come find out from here. And remaining area is for false. Right, so this is E is equal to true. This is E is equal to false area. Right. So again, I have created a new stick for random variable E, and I have divided it into two regions as the probability of E that we can see from the conditional probability table of E. And now again, we look at the second random variable. Here the second random variable is 10, and we project that variable on the stick. Right. And the second random variable falls in again E is equal to true part. So for this sample, value of E is true. Please note this down with me because we will work this out next after this. So one example, then I will ask you to work also. So please keep note of this, and please ask me if you have any doubt on this. Is it clear how I am deciding value of B and E? So first I draw a stick. I divide the region of stick as per the conditional probability table of that variable. So for every variable, I need to draw at least one stick. So one stick for B, one stick for E, and divide the region as per the conditional probability tables of B and E, and then look at the random number and project the random number on the stick. If it falls in true part, then the value of variable is true. If it falls in false part, then the value of random variable is false. This is the idea. Any questions on this? Is this clear? Is this clear? Can you hear me now? Okay, good. So now let's look at the other variable. So other random variable now is A is also a binary variable, so there are two values, and we can draw a stick for A also, and say that it ranges from 0 to 1000. But now, which probability of A we would use? Because there are four options here, right? A can be this or this or this or this. So these four options, which one we would choose? If you can answer this, then I think you got the idea. In case of B and E, we had only one option, so there's only one stick with a fixed one probability. But now probability of A can be four different things. It can be 0.95, B and E are true. It can be 0.94 if B is true and E is false, and so on. So we have four possible options here. And in each of these options, there are different regions for true and false. So in first case, the region of true is 0.95. 0.95 of 1000. What is that? 0.95 of 1000. Is for all option mark on the line. Okay, but just remind me, what is the 0.5, 0.95% of 10,000? Is it 950? So somewhere up to this point is, let's say it is A is equal to true. And this is A is equal to false. So this is, let's say, 0.95. 0.5%. So I can be correct. Similarly, this is another line is 0.94%. If you see the second probability is 0.94. 0.94%. Region for A is equal to remaining for A is equal to false. Right, so there are four different possible breakup of stick. And third breakup is 0.29 and remaining everything. So 0.29 is A is equal to true, and remaining is A is equal to false. And in fourth case, 0.01% is for true. And rest of the region is for A is equal to. Right, so there are four different possible breakups. Which breakup we will use depends on the value of E. So this is for B is equal to true, and B is equal to true and E is equal to true. The second breakup is for B is equal to true and E is equal to false. Third is for B is equal to true, B is equal to false, and E is equal to true. And third is for both false. Right. So now you would be able to answer which of you use out of this. Let us number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So which option we would choose here out of these four possible? Amalia has a value based on value of B and E at that X. Exactly. So for this example, we will look at the value of B and E. So in our case, now the value of B and E are true. So we will look at the stick. This thing, we look at this. Because our example says that B and E are true. So out of these four possible breakups of variable A, we will choose one for which the condition variables value are same as the values that we have known. So we have known the value of condition variable as B is equal to true and E is equal to true. So we will use that stick where B is equal to true and E is equal to true. And we'll project the next number. So 1000. There is 1000. So let's try to project here. it will fit in this area somewhere. Right, it will fit in two area. So value of A is true. Yeah, I guess I lost the connection, presentation connection in between. So are you with me? So we will choose the area where E and E are true because this is the value of random variable we have drawn. Condition variables value drawn, we'll choose that stick B and E is equal to true. And then we project third random number on the stick turns out to be true. So A will also be true. Right? Now similarly we have to draw samples for J and M. So let us also try this. Before that, any questions here? Is it clear what we are doing? No other questions. Let's move to the drawing the fourth and fifth random variable. So we have used three random numbers far, and we have to. Now let's draw for John calls and Mary calls. And there are two sticks for each in this case because it partitioned over one variable A. So depending upon value of A, we will the stick. So let's draw sticks for John call. And there are two parts here. If A is equal to true, then 90% of the region will go for true part. And remaining 10% will go to false part. If is equal to false, then only 0.05% of the region will go to true part. And remaining region will go to J is equal to false part. In case of A is equal to false. So again the same question, out of these two sticks, which one we would choose? First one, because we have drawn A is equal to true in this case. So since we had drawn the value of A that we had iteration was A is equal to true, so we will choose this tick. The first tick is equal to, and we will project this 2000 on this tick. So when you project 2000 here, it will be somewhere here. Again, if we say it is ranging from 0 to 10,000, then 2000 is somewhere here. So the value of third variable is also j. Value of third variable j is also true. And similarly for m. M again we can do 2 sticks for m. With 70% of area devoted to value, another area for false value. And in second case, 0.01% devoted to true value, another area for false value. And this also depends on value of when A is equal to this is followed, when A is equal to false, then this is followed. In our case, A is equal to 2, so we choose again this. And if we say it is ranging from 0 to 10,000, then 10,000 is true. So again, this will also be true, depending upon the value of the variable, which is 3000. Will here and it will be. So the last variable we have drawn is also true. So based on 5 random variables which we have chosen, this random variables, based on these random variables, and based on the CPTs given, the sample we could draw from the distribution is something like this. All true, right? The sample we have drawn is all true values. Clear? So this is random sampling. We draw some numbers at random, and we look at the CPT variable, and based on the random numbers that we are looking at, we decide the value of random variable. Try this on samples. Try it on this example. Try to do a sample using these random values and tell me what values you get. work on this example and give me your answer.